Hi. We're the after lunch presentation. We're like the warm up act to get you ready for the rest of the day. So hope you guys are ready because it's going to be one heck of a show. You did pick the best session out of the whole conference, so consider yourselves very lucky. I don't think we have any prizes other than hopefully we'll give you some really good information to take home and do your thing with. If you're here, you probably don't need us to bring you up to speed. That your audience is expecting you to be available across screens. These include traditional channels like pay TV, but now also includes desktop, mobile, game consoles, connected TV, and so on. We can see this with the ever-growing availability of TV everywhere and over-the-top services available today, and this number is growing. With that, your audience is no longer tied to one platform and therefore has a multitude of choices. While great content is still very much key to engaging and keeping your audience, you still have to compete with many other services that are vying for your attention. The way to do this is through quality, thoughtful user experiences that build a relationship with your audience and calls them back time and time again. To help you guys figure out what this means, I have the pleasure of moderating this exclusive panel of experts, and hopefully will help you think about how to go about to develop a UX strategy that not only represents your brand, but helps you gain and retain a new audience. I am Michael Pritchard. I'm the founder and CTO of WillowTree. We're a custom mobile app design development agency based in Charlottesville, Virginia. We work across the market from doing field technician services apps for Pepsi to Wyndham and Regal Theaters loyalty programs to actually working with our partner, Clearleap, to design and rebuild HBO Nordic, which is HBO's Scandinavian subscription platform, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and so on. With me, I'm going to go from that end over there. And kind of come across here. I'm going to do my very best to read these bios, so hopefully I get it right and don't get angry if I don't. But you won't? You're good? These guys are really nice, so I feel pretty comfortable here. So I have Jim Spencer of Newsy. In 2008, Jim Spencer founded Newsy, an early online mobile and OTT video news service that was acquired by EW Scripps Company in 2014. Congratulations. Prior to Newsy, Jim was founding VP of Content at Ask Jeeves, served as the GM of News and Information Programming at AOL, and was the Executive Director of Partnerships for NBC. Pretty busy dude, but very nice. He started his career as the GM of New Media at Multimedia Inc. prior to its sale to Gannett, and he's here today. Next is Scott Olekowski. Yes. That's perfect. Thank you. Scott Olekowski, founder and chief product officer at Plex Inc., has applied his entrepreneurial know-how and spirit to a number of software internet-focused companies over the past 15 years. Scott's professional experience includes executive positions in product strategy, business development, marketing, and international sales for a number of established brands such as Cisco, Postex, and Ironport. He also co-founded a successful video software company that pioneered the synchronization of video testimony and official transcripts, which dramatically improved conviction rates for trial lawyers. So you made my life really hard. Thank you. All right, so next to him is Mano Kulasingam. Nice. I'm doing really good here, guys. You guys got to help me out if I get this wrong. But as the co-founder and co-CEO of DigiFlare, leading provider of TV app solutions with over 8 years of experience in the digital media domain, his successes include identifying new market opportunities, establishing business and product strategies, and delivering innovative market-driven solutions. With his leadership, DigiFlare has delivered innovative solutions for some of the top brands such as Disney, Starz, PBS, Univision, Bell, and Rogers. These experiences, coupled with his passion for technology, have positioned him as a proven, successful executive in digital media. And finally, but not least, Tom Schaefer, founder and CEO of Float Left Interactive, is an entrepreneur and software engineer with over 20 years of experience working in a variety of different industries. Tom now focuses on applying his years of experience coupled with a passion for the TV industry to help businesses display large-scale OTT and TVE services. So thank you guys for doing this, and thank you for coming to this talk. What I kind of want to start with initially is based on my experience, mainly in mobile and building, essentially designing and building apps and so on. That a lot of times you see the terms UI and UX kind of thrown together. Sometimes, place, basically used in different contexts, etc. Just to make sure that we're all speaking the same language and at least using the same kind of terminology. I'd like to have a panelist actually, define like what is the difference between UI, user interface, and user experience UX. And anyone want to take that? All right, Tom.
Hello. Hello. Okay, that works. Hi everybody. Thanks for having us on this panel. I really appreciate it. I think the key difference between user interface and user experience is the interface is how the user, or the viewer in this case, when we're speaking about TV applications, engages with the content or engages with the app. So whether it's using a remote, how to navigate through the application and finding what they're looking to watch. And doing it in an intuitive way. So just creating a view for the user to be able to navigate effectively and without a whole lot of difficulty toward an end goal, in this case, watching content. The experience, the user experience, I think, is it's coupled with the interface in that it's the feeling that you get when you're interacting with the application or the channel or the or any overall any piece of equipment. I mean, it's sort of the emotional response that you get from interacting with something, and so you can have the interface can ultimately create a horrible experience. So I think it's deeply connected.
All right, thank you. So since we kind of figured that out, what this is the big, is it $6 million question? I don't know the expression, but what makes for a great video experience? And we'll start over at the end with Jim.
Well, I think that media has always been kind of a combination of art and technology. We're mostly in the news business, so we're pretty much in the storytelling business, and one of the terms that we use at our company is to make the videos sparkle. Sparkle in the sense of a really remarkable and coherent and clear presentation, no matter what the device. One of the things that's very important to understand about video from the outset is that I believe it's the only media technology that works well across what I call all four screens. So that ranges from the ones that you all have in your pocket right now, to the tablets that I see on the tables, to the laptops that are open, to big screens like the one that you see there or the one that's in your living room. So in order to create really great, compelling video, it's as much of an art as anything. I went to film school and I went to journalism school and have used technology and used distribution platforms to be able to tell stories. And I think this entire panel starts with really compelling, great content and storytelling.
So Plex is a system for helping people manage their own personal media. And for us, that includes photos and music and videos, TV shows, movies, whatever they might have bought or DVR'd or created on their own. And we're available on all of these different screens, every mobile platform, pretty much every streaming platform, as well as all the desktops. And the challenge has been for us is that sometimes people know exactly what they're looking for, and they want to get there in as few clicks as possible from whatever device they happen to be using. And at the same time, some people have very large libraries, and they want to explore and discover the content, and they want to be delighted along the way and have a fun, enjoyable experience. And the challenges that we've seen are trying to provide parallel paths, right? Letting people find what they need really quickly if they know exactly why they opened the app and they want to get to something. And then for the folks that are kind of looking for maybe some suggestions or some other stuff, how do you get there as well? So, when we look at it, we're looking at the entire experience across every touch point that we have with the user, from, their initial, how do they discover Plex, all the way through, consuming movies or TV shows on a regular basis on every platform. And, for the sheer number of times we've looked at different UIs that looked really beautiful in a mock and, tried it out and ended up realizing that the experience sucked. It was pretty incredible. Like, we have done a lot of iterating over the years, and I think we're still in that mode. People are still learning how to use these services. We're still trying to figure out, how best to help them and how best to make a great experience around that. So we're definitely in that learning phase, I think, ourselves.
Right, and so to that point, right, because to be able to say this experience is better than something else, it's pretty ambiguous. It's kind of hard to kind of dial down. So do you have any examples based on what we're at right now, specific examples where improved experience, maybe upped audience, anything that we can kind of put a quantitative kind of, we did this and this happened because of that kind of scenario? Does anyone have an example? We'll start with Mana.
Maybe I can take that one on. So recently we launched a product on Roku with our client Charter, and their mission was to really get 70 live channels up and running on this platform. And traditionally, when you got an MVPD that's trying to launch an app with multiple distribution of channels, content discovery becomes a major problem. And how do you solve that, right? And so when you look at the set-top box and the traditional grid view of navigating channels, that's the way how we've been kind of given browsing those content. With Charter, we took a different approach, and we tried to understand. I think with user experience, it's always important that you got to understand your end audience. You got to segment them. What type of audience are you dealing with, and your users, and how do you categorize them in the different personas that you're trying to achieve ultimately. And so with this, we really took an approach of trying to build not just a full grid view, almost taking it as, when you launch the app, it gets into the channel that you left off or where you were interested, and then really giving a quick view to navigate through different channels and jump to where you want, and presenting your favorite channels up front. So there are different mechanisms that we took, and rather than presenting it in a large grid, we took a different approach, and the other thing we've done is we did some A/B testing and try to figure out what worked, what didn't, and use that to really get to an user experience that works.
So I'll come back to this question, but for personal experience, with just to be clear, us and Clearly, we partnered on redesigning and rebuilding HBO Nordic. They had an existing OTT system in place. That was good, except there were some challenges with payments and friction between playing. It was just things that we came in and kind of made smoother. And we have numbers that it did increase their market share from 2%, I think, to 14% in like about 30 days, which is a pretty big impact. Just same great HBO content, just how you how you experience that content makes a big difference. So I think, is there any other kind of example like that where there's a noticeable difference based on just focusing on the details, I guess?
Yeah, I can't speak to the actual engagement numbers, Jim, but I know that recently we relaunched the Newsy application on Roku, which I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is find a balance between features, but also we want the UI and we want the interface to just sort of get out of the way and get users into video as quickly as possible. And I think that's kind of what we try to do with Newsy 2.0 on Roku, is to sort of just give it a big view, big images, and get them playing content quickly. It's a difficult balance sometimes when you want to throw in a lot of features, and which we do as far as like everybody was mentioning. Watch history, resume playback on different devices, and those types of features, ratings and recommendations and all of that. I think it has to work, though. You don't want to be in the way. You don't want to clutter up the interface. You want to get people into content quickly, and ultimately have them staying in there longer. But I think that creates a good user experience when you're sort of getting out of the way and decluttering a lot of things and getting right into content.
Absolutely. No, Float Left did a great job working with Newsy. And, you know, one of the things that I think that each one of the panelists has kind of mentioned is the learning aspect. So I think we've been on Roku maybe 2.5, possibly 3 years now. I think we were the first or one of the first video news apps for the iPad. Which obviously required a different user interface than the iPhone or the BlackBerry or the Android or all sorts of other platforms and things that are out there. And I think the key is to get out there and get out there early and learn as much as you possibly can along the way and iterate as quickly as you can as well.
And I'll tag on. I mean, we've had some fairly difficult learning experiences in the past, couple of years. We spent a lot of energy trying to figure out, how do we get people the most important information they can have on kind of the home screen dashboard. And a lot of people who use our system all the time, we're putting a feature we call On Deck, right? This is the next episode in a series. This is a show you left off watching. It's right there, right in front. You can literally get to, most people will find that they'll get to what they want in a click or two, and they're watching a show. But we also wanted to create the Discover stuff and highlight some of that. And we've had users that have been using our app for 5 years or some time, and we had taken away some very basic browse capabilities in the app, and we got our asses handed to us by this very vocal, set of users that had used the app a certain way for, a long time and really, really loved that way of navigating the app, and it's what they had, come to expect. And we moved their cheese, and it was an unpleasant experience for both sides, I think. And so what probably the biggest takeaway for us is, we did a lot of testing, and it wasn't like this didn't come out because, unfortunately, we were probably not testing with this hardcore set of users. But we've now started to instrument everything, and we can really quickly start to see the patterns and the goals and the time it takes and where people are getting stuck and where they're falling off. And I think we've definitely gotten religion around being able to quantify some of these things, because we're at a scale where it's tough to just do affordable user testing.
Right. And I'd like to come back to the tools and techniques for that, but again, I live in my mobile app bubble. I know all about how to build and design these things. And then I started thinking about the folks that maybe you're a publisher, you have content, and who do you call kind of thing. I mean, I did a search for mobile app developers, just on Google. I got back 400 million results, right? I'm like, well, let me get more specific. And I did OTT app developers. Little low, right? Yeah, a little low. That's my competition, 400 million of them. But looked at the OTT app developers, and I mean that was awesome. It dropped down to 200,000. So I'm slowly narrowing in to someone that could help me figure this stuff out. Cool, but in reality, I mean it leaves you kind of confused. Where do you start? Like as someone in the audience that's like, I want to get into this. Where do I go? Who do I go to? How do you start this process?
I mean, you definitely want to first is identify, what the catalog you have, and there's certainly, to build an OTT app, there are a mix of backend infrastructure that's required to power the app, and then certainly you will need the app component to distribute your content. And so I think it's important to really identify, what your infrastructure and who you're going to work with. And there are a number of companies that are doing that really well, and then certainly companies that are like us, Float Interactive, like Digiflare, are great companies that really focuses on this particular niche and help build a great experience for TV apps. And I think to Jim's point earlier is really get to market, and then you got to iterate and build on, because the key is you got to be able to understand who your users are, get the analytics, study the analytics, and then figure out what's working, what's not, and you got to iterate.
I just wanted to jump in real quick. So, I think it's important for publishers too to realize that when they're looking for someone to help them build out a set of applications on various platforms, that compare apples to apples. I think you need to think about this as a service, as a large-scale service, and that's what Float Left looks at this as. This is not something where where you could have a company could come in and build an application on a mobile platform, on a Roku, or another TV platform in a silo. I think the key differential is that you have to work with a company that completely understands what it takes to create, launch, manage, maintain direct-to-consumer services, which is our expertise, and I would argue others as well. I mean, so this is the we're looking at it through a different perspective, through a different lens. We're looking at it from a high level where we come in and have conversations with publishers about digital strategy, about monetization, and then sort of work through the conversation, and then ultimately land at a place where we're saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to deploy applications on these 8 platforms, and we're going to have an AVOD solution or a strategy for monetization, and kind of work through those details. You need to have a company that you can pair up with that understands the entire ecosystem, because I think what happens is when publishers work with single vendors in varying capacities across the ecosystem, they wind up kind of down a rabbit hole that they can't really come out of, and it's a struggle for them. So.
And so, Jim, I know you. Just full disclosure, I think you guys work together. How'd that happen?
Sure. So, I agree with what everyone said so far. We started all of our app development internally. We were very lucky to have found an enormously talented person that joined our company who just really understood how apps should work, and he's been able to build anything ranging from an award-winning iPhone and iPad and OTT apps. We also have to make a decision. You can't build for everything because there's so many platforms out there. You got Amazon Fire, you got Sling, you got Roku, you got iPad, you've got all sorts of different flavors of Android, so on and so forth. And so it would be difficult to staff your company in an economically viable way, and a lot of these apps don't throw off a tremendous amount of money at this point in the game. So you need to be able to partner up with people like Float Left, and they did a great job with us. But you also have to invest in your own company and have the talent and the capabilities within your own company to be able to understand and manage and run these things. This is, if you're a publisher, this is your business. You wouldn't outsource your television cameras at NBC to some group somewhere else. And so you need to have an intimate understanding and knowledge of what's going on, and be with a good partner like Float Left or some of the other folks here who can help you learn faster along the way.
I think that's a great point, by the way, in terms of if this is obviously this is where your audience is, and you should have expertise in-house, right? But then leverage partners to kind of help you go to places that faster, maybe with the right, without making the same mistakes over and over again, stuff like that. I'm gonna kind of leave that topic alone right now. But you mentioned something about the various platforms: Apple, TV, Fire TV, Roku, desktop, Samsung TV, Xbox One, PlayStation. I'm sure I'm missing a few, and so on. And I was in the how to build a Roku app session, and they have 3,000 channels on the Roku itself. I guess the question that I want to ask you guys, and before we get back into actually building this stuff and techniques, is you mentioned discovery. What do you do as someone that has a channel? You built it. You have a channel. How do you get your content discovered? Is there anything that you guys could share on that regard?
Sure. I think so. Obviously, traditional marketing aside, right? So, I think you need to. Some of the things that our partner publishers have done is to, for example, on Roku, participating in the global search, where users can kind of come in, and that exists on multiple platforms, that you can kind of come in and sort of search for something to watch, and by title it'll pull a result set. As far as that's one of the key ways. I think inside the interface, as far as content discovery, I think just displaying content in a logical order, being able to display results that make sense to the user as far as if there's an area that's trending, making sure those results are populating in a logical flow. So those are just a couple of things.
Yeah, I would say to add to that, with some of the platforms like Xbox, Fire TV, Roku, what they now have is as a universal search capability. So if you're building an app on these platforms, what you do is you index your content based on a feed that you provide, and they would actually index it so that when a user searches for a content from a main screen, your results will come up as well, and then deep link into the app. So that's another way that we've seen our clients take advantage of that. The other is like when you talk to actually apart from, I would say, Apple and Android, when you talk to some of the other platforms, there's actually evangelists within the organizations that actually help content providers promote their apps. And also, if you have unique content, I can tell you, for example, like Fire TV, the guys at Fire TV, they want to have unique content on their platform. And if you do have it, they'll actually help you promote it, and they'll bring it in front of this top of the store and promote you guys that way as well. So it helps to get in connected with those individuals and see what are options available within the company itself. Yeah.
I'll just tag on to what you just said there. We are always looking for opportunities to do platform-specific things for that reason. If you're doing things that are special for their platform, they're more likely to help promote you. If you're willing to do things that are just simply unique to their platform, they're more likely to help promote you. So we're always looking for those types of opportunities because there's a lot of apps out there, and you're trying to find some way. And if you can find those BD or marketing folks, and you're willing to do a little extra work, we've seen it pay nice dividends.
Absolutely. It's essential. It's your job to build those relationships and build those partnerships with those people. It's your job to figure out what the new feature set is going to be on the next iteration of their software. It's your job to find a creative way to build that functionality into your app so that you're helping showcase their platform. And it's your job to maintain those relationships and to learn and to innovate as quickly as you possibly can so that those people think that you're cool and they think that your app is cool and that they want to promote your app as part of their overall product.
Okay, just add one thing. So some of the things that we've actually been working with publishers to do recently is what is like cross promotion within inside of applications. So partners will have maybe they have one brand that's sort of ahead of it, and they're opening up things where we can embed something within the app that's sort of promoting something in a different type of genre, perhaps, but is allowing that other publisher to kind of piggyback on the numbers of the original app. So it's a little bit of cross-marketing, cross-promotion between publishers. That's something that's been happening quite a bit recently.
Great. So just back to the keeping up with the latest and say like Apple TV or whatever, are those the developer relations folks that you guys are working with? Who are the people that they should become friends with, essentially?
Sometimes they're called developer relations. Sometimes they're called publisher relations. Sometimes they're called vice president of business development. Sometimes they're called president. Sometimes they're called all sorts of different things. And the way to think about it is, if you're a television, if you're a local, let's just kind of turn the clock back, okay? Let's go back to the early days of cable TV. If you're channel 93, you're hard to find. If you're a local television station, ideally if you're channel 7, you'd like to be channel 7 on the local cable system. When I was at AOL, fortunately leaving before Time Warner, our big deal happened not just by sending out all those crazy CDs that filled up your trash can probably, but when we were allowed to install our icon on the opening screen with Dell and with IBM and Compaq and all those other computer companies that don't, I'm not going to say Dell, but a lot of them that really helped us with placement. And same thing with the app stores. You've got to build those relationships, and you've got to understand where those folks are coming from, understand where they're headed, and be part of the team and be part of the gang that's making stuff happen. Yep.
Just real quick, just to piggyback on that as well, I think, and Monty, you would agree with this, that as companies that deploy these types of solutions, we work with, I mean, this is part of when we were talking earlier about the idea that, working with a company that can come in and help sort of launch a service. This is part of what we do. We help publishers connect with the right individuals inside the companies to help get them, whether it's marketing or any kind of way to help them market their channel within that platform.
So I want to have time for questions, so I may do one, maybe two more questions. But one thing that I'm personally curious about. Sorry, I'm hijacking this because I'm curious about this. But a lot of times our clients, our video clients, are like, "This is great. You have an app. It plays video. I can get subscriptions. This is yay." But the studies have shown, a Deloitte study in particular, that 90% of consumers are multitasking while they're watching TV, which means that only which means that only 22% of these multitasking activities are directly related to what they're watching. And the same study says that 73% are not paying too much attention to the ads and the stuff going on that screen, which, by the way, is kind of an important revenue stream, I think, for some of you folks here. So you do want them to be engaged. My question is, what techniques or features are you seeing in the marketplace trying to address this? And do we know yet? I know this is all new. How effective this are. I mean, for me, I'd be curious. Like, this is what we're doing. And this is what happened. What's happening? Is it? Can someone help us with that? How do I engage this audience to keep watching me?
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
No, you start. I think it's important is that content is important. What kind of content you have, and really, I think if you have an app or whatever your distribution channel is, it's important to understand who your audience are, and so when there's ads, you are going to have users that are going to be disengaged, and that's it's hard to keep users watching ads, but ultimately, we're going to start to see more engagement type of advertisement rather than just a video ad that shows you. Rather than that, if you can have some level of interaction with that, and we're starting to see some of that. You saw today at the keynote how Xbox team is doing that, and so I think there's got to be other interaction that's got to be introduced into keeping the audience engaged.
All right, so
Yeah.
quickly, because I want to go to the next one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that the interactive advertising is a way that we're sort of helping to get people's heads to pop up, from their phones. It's difficult, but that is one way that we're spending a lot of time working with publishers to advertise that way. So.
Yeah, and I think we're in the really formative stages of video, given all the technology that's out there, and it's almost like the early days of movies, where Charlie Chaplin would run in from the right side of the screen and go do a chase, and all of a sudden then he'd run out of the left side of the screen, and that was it. It was kind of an old thing from vaudeville and stage, and I think that's pretty much where we're at with mobile video and with OTT. And there's opportunities. We created some interactive videos that just create a higher level of engagement. They're more difficult to produce. They're more expensive to produce. But the engagement levels are there. And then, with regards to like Facebook and Twitter and everything else that people are doing, I mean, all you're doing is you're competing in the real world. It's just like me sitting here talking with this audience. People probably have their Twitter feeds open, and they probably have their Facebook open, and they're probably doing that instead of listening to me. So that's how it goes.
I don't believe that.
I mean,
I don't believe that.
it's just part of. That's just how it is now. You know what I mean?
So I think we're just starting the conversation. Unfortunately, we are kind of running out of time, and I want to open it up to you guys to ask if you could. Not yet. 1 second. But before we go, quickly, and you each have like 5 seconds to do this, or 10, whatever. What are the top 3 things that the folks in this room should take out of this talk, no matter what, anything else that happens today? Like the top 3 things, and I'll start with you, and we'll go that way.
keep the UI simple when thinking about, first of all, work with a company that understands the ecosystem, that understands the complete overview of how to launch applications in the service, how to monetize, how to bridge all those connections that the publishers need. Keep the user interface very simple, keep it clean, and I don't know, I'm drawing a blank on the last one.
I would definitely say, in terms of keeping the engagement level, try to measure the quality of experience. It's important. We work with a lot of clients. We do a lot. They collect a lot of analytics, and honestly, I can tell you, not a lot of them react on those analytics and actually do iteration to improve on it. And I think it's important is that, one, when you have a video app, you got to make sure that the quality of the video is always good, and you got to keep measuring it and making sure that that never drops. Because if your video is not good, your users are not going to come back. It's just period, right?
I'll change.
Yeah, and then last one I would say is content discovery. Make it easy, and that would be it.
Sorry about that. I'll say up to three things. There you go.
I was going to say, measure everything and understand what it means, right? Really try to dig in and figure that out. I would say, view the whole effort as an ecosystem play, and use mobile to engage on the big screen, get the big screen to engage on mobile, make this stuff work together and give people a better experience. And then 3, I would say, plan on iterating all the time. We are in that sweet spot of the space, and things are changing really fast, and the competition is getting much better at what they're doing too.
Yep. Go fast, be the first one on the platform, learn as quickly as you possibly can, and start iterating immediately.
So obviously iteration is a theme here. So you guys should keep that.
Hire these guys to iterate for you. That's
yeah, totally. So all right, so I'm going to open it up. We have about 10 minutes, but I think should be at least 1 or 2 on you, sir.
Sure. I'm going to start this with Jim, but I'd really be interested in the other gentleman if we have a client that we can talk about this. What I get most out of these types of panels are real world case study type information. And what I'd love to find out, was there an aha moment where you got more adoption for your mobile app or whatever? And was it like an influencer mentioned your app, or was it the story, the right content at the right time, the right place? And have you been able to repeat that success?
So I have to repeat it because we're live on TV right now. But the question is, was there an aha moment, and what was that, and how were you able to repeat it? I've condensed it. Hope that's good.
Sure. This is going to sound a little thematic and a little general for AHA, but what I discovered is the more platforms that became available, the faster that we got on them, the greater the usage of our content occurred. And it's interesting. With the web, there's usage. With the mobile, there's more usage. And with OTT, there's even more usage. And I'm not talking cumulatively. I'm talking about by platform. And it's been a very fascinating thing for me to observe. I can't put my absolute finger on it. In fact, it's one question that I would have for this group is, does anybody know of any really good OTT analytics companies that are out there? Does anybody know of one? Well, there's your next business idea, because we need one. But that's what I found.
I'll say our one aha moment, we've had a lot because we've tended to wander into this a little bit not knowing, and we've been pretty early in some of the things we've done. But one was really stepping back and looking at the entire experience, not just the video playback experience, not just the moment I opened the app, but how did the customer find us? Why did they find us? How did they discover us? What channels are they coming in? What are they actually trying to achieve? When we stepped back and really tried to understand that, we made huge strides in getting more people in and keeping people engaged longer. So it seemed like a kind of a simple thing, but it was a big, big aha for us. Like we got so focused on the in-app experience, we forgot about the bigger picture.
So thank you. Let's move on to another question. Nadine, I know you. So the question is, which OTT analytics are you guys? Oh, what's wrong? Excuse me. The question is, what's wrong with the OTT analytics that you're using?
We cobbled together a number of different things to try to gain as much insight as we can, and I just think that there's an opportunity that exists for someone to come in and take that service to a higher level than what it is currently at. Just again, cobbling together any kind of information that we can glean from our video providers, from Google Analytics, from anything like that. You string stuff together. Again, I think it's in the very early formative stages of this business, and I think there's an opportunity there.
I think if I were to add to it, in terms of the analytics that you collect, first there's video analytics in terms of the quality of the video. There are analytics that's collected, and then definitely in terms of the usage within the application itself. I think I would say what's missing today is the data is there, it's collected. It's the actual reporting and meaningful report that gives you actions that you can do to improve your experience or improve your user retention. I think that's where the missing piece is, because certainly you can look at certain reports and make calls on them, but I think that's probably where I would say a lot more improvement is required.
Mm-hmm. It's actually understanding what you're looking at, right? I think that we had that in mobile before OTT you have a ton of data like downloads and sessions, but they don't mean anything unless you can tie a real,
And at the end of the day, we're working with publishers, and no offense to anybody, but I mean, publishers are not generally technical. They want just real information that they can pull together to make decisions about their content library. And you're right, Mano, that's an issue. It's just not in a cohesive view for publishers to understand.
So, all right, great. Question from you, sir.
Yeah, I think there's some fairly gold standards out there in terms of well-developed and designed OTT apps. I'm just curious from the panelists what your favorite one is, one that you've either been involved in developing or one that you consider.
All right. What's one of your favorite OTT apps? Biased?
I supposedly used to run a non-biased news operation, but I'd have to say that mine is Newsy. I hope that the guys at Float Left agree with me. No, I'm kidding. But you guys, go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I think one, if I were being biased, I would say we worked with Stars, and we've launched on them on multiple platforms. And really, it's great when you have a client that really wants to push the envelope and wants to really be involved and make sure the experience is great and iterating them on them. So I think that was a great experience where we were able to do it. I mean, certainly, if you look at what Netflix tries to do, they're probably a one gold standard. But even with Netflix, I find content discovery is still a challenge.
Of course, Newsy number one, right? Right underneath of Newsy, I would say what we've done for the Viacom team and putting together Nickelodeon and Comedy Central, really stretching the envelope specifically on the Roku platform, creating our own animations, creating our own screen transitions, and doing a lot of that work was very labor intensive, but I think put together a phenomenal app.
All right, you, sir.
So I'll take off from what Manu said about the Netflix is a nicely designed UI, but our family spent half an hour to 1 hour trying to figure out what to watch. Discovery is still a hard road, and most of the applications look pretty much the same. So are there any technical breakthroughs coming around? You have discovery ideas, Rosie talked about the voice and stuff. The best UI I saw was Chromecast with remote on one.
All right. So the question, if I understand, is is there stuff coming now for discovery? Are there any good ways to discover content?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm a big proponent of what machine language is going to do. I mean, contextual viewing is what I find it's lacking today. It's understanding who's watching it and how do you present the content that's catered to that audience. And I mean, there's some companies that are already starting to do that, and Netflix is definitely working on things on that. But machine learning is something that you should look out for.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think one of the things that we're experimenting with now is just dropping people into content. It sounds crazy, but it's true. I think we spend a lot of time. I mean, even with Netflix, even with a fantastic content library, I think sometimes too much choice is a problem. I think you have to sort of clear it away and just get people into watching something. I think simple is better. And I think that's been something that we've been experimenting with, just getting people into content. And a lot of times they stay in there and they watch it because it's relevant to what they're looking for.
And that's what we're playing with, recommendation engines. I think RSTV is one that we've messed with. That's pretty interesting. So
I was just going to say, I mean, I tend to agree with the Chromecast is the best interface. And in some ways, the mobile device is just much easier to navigate, right? I can search for stuff on there in seconds versus hunting and pecking on a up, down, left, right remote. So I do think, and we're arguing about losing people's attention to these other devices, they're there. And we're seeing a lot of we were very early on the Chromecast, but a lot of our watching is on Chromecast. All of our apps can cast to each other. So we're seeing a lot of people start with the handheld device first, and that's their real interface to a lot of this content.
great. So I think we have till 2:30, so 1 minute, and I think you have a question, so it better be good. Just last.
You mentioned about iteration, the need to be able to iterate on your applications. And some platforms make it extremely easy, like web, where you can just push out and iterate when you want. Other platforms can have even months of lead time where you can actually get a change that is ready for production to actually get moving to consumers. For some of those platforms, do you have any strategies in terms of how you can iterate when it may be weeks or months before you can actually change out?
Right. The question is, how do you iterate on platforms that are not like the web, where you make a change and it's immediately out there?
Do it all on the web first. Figure out the strategy in the places where you can iterate every hour, every day, every week, and understand what's working and what's not. And back to the analytics question, the analytics make it really tough to compare iterations. That would be a huge area to improve understanding, what's happening in the app. But I think you start with the web, or the apps that that you can push out through the web on your own, and then replicate some of that stuff in the other places because it's too painful.
Last comment would be, so we have a product called Vidya as a TV app publishing platform, and what we've done is really abstracted out a lot of the UI configuration and display on the server side. And so we actually are able to change UI on the fly without even going through certification. And so that's a solution that we felt. And you're right, like Xbox, when you go through a certification, it takes three weeks to get through certification on the first go. And so if you have to do that for every app update you want to do, it's expensive. It's time consuming, testing. So those are things that we looked at, and that's sort of the ideas that we put into our product as well.
So I wish we had more time. I think we have to sort of skedaddle for the next group coming in. But thank you for coming and listening to us. Thank you to our panelists. They're not shy people, either am I. So if there's any questions or whatnot, I'm sure that we'd be happy to talk to you guys. So thank you.